Good time all day, friends! In this video we are going to discuss point proximity sensor and trigger proximity, and also show a few bugs.
Let's go!
Before proceeding to the practical part of lesson, we need to explain the purpose of these entities. In simple terms, proximity sensor, like trigger proximity, can track the distance between several objects. But in order for the distance to affect the length of script, you will have to use mathematical entities, such as math color blend, math counter, or math remap.
Does it sound scary and incomprehensible? Then let's start with a simple one trigger proximity. Let's open the properties of the entity and take a look at unfamiliar settings. Point to measure from, the name of the object, the distance to which is tracked. In our case, it is a point entity in for target, which should be directly within the reach of the trigger. The second variable is the distance from the target to the middle of the trigger. Why exactly to the middle? The fact is that the trigger works in such a way that the distance calculation takes place between its center and the edge. There the center is 0 and your target is 1. This is all strange and inconvenient, but this is not the all problems that you might have with this entity. We'll be back on that later. In the Flex tab, you can choose the object the trigger is responding to, the player, 3D models, NPCs, and so on. Now you need to choose the mathematical entity to use for the trigger. This entity responds to the distance and runs output scripts. Math color blend is the simplest example. Like a trigger, it has a variable 2 digits between 0 and 1. Select the desired colors and then in output specify the name of the object what will be colored. Next, open the trigger outputs, track the player's position and send data to math color blend. That's it. Now the color of the wall changes depending on how close the player is to the target. But that's not all. Let's use another mathematical entity, math remap. It can also work in range from 0 to 1, but at the same time outputs new variables for outputs. For example, standing at the target, the player has 1 HP, and moving away from it, 99 HP. To do this, you just need to specify the transfer of values to the player in outputs. In the flux column, you need to uncheck the box from here. You should experiment with these two options if you don't know how they work. And of course, don't forget to point the trigger to the entity. Now you can finally test our map. Everything works like a clockwork.
Moving on to more complex work. Point proximity sensor. It uses itself as an object to which the distance is measured. We have chosen FunQuizBox as the object whose position will be measured. In the Flag tab, you can specify one of the 3 axes on which the distance will be tracked. The direction of the entity's view is specified in the pitch-up-roll variable. Now about mathematics. Our system uses 3 entities to control other objects. The first entity is the already familiar math remap, and second is the math counter, and the last, math color blend. Are you already afraid? For math remap, we specify the minimum and maximum distance from point proximity sensor, and the lines below the minimum and maximum output values. Uncheck the box in the flags column and go to the Output tab. Depending on distance at which the box will be located, the transparency of FunQual will change as well as the player health level. Properties of the math counter entity. It's enough for us to specify the minimum and the maximum distance to which the cube can be moved. When the cube is too close or too far from the target, the output command on hit min and on hit max are launched. Now with more detail. If the cube is too far from the target, Then NPC brain will become huge, and a second after that the player will be die. If on contrary the cube is too close to the target, it will be broken, Map-free Maps is turned off, the player screen will be colored red, and you will hear the sound of teleportation. There is still Map Color Blend, which will change the color of enemy sprite, enemy light glow, and our cube depending of the distance to the target. That's it, guys. Testing the map. Everything is beautiful and nothing has even broken.
If you wanna get the VMF projects of our map, then subscribe to Boosty or our Patreon. And now let's move to our favorite, the Source Engine bugs. If both entities are used on your map at the same time and both of them can affect the player's health level, then trigger proximity will start behaving inappropriately. The player's health indicators will begin to fall or soar to 100 HP for no reason. But that's not all. The trigger will start working like trigger push entity, throwing the player in different directions. Funny, isn't it? No.
That's all, guys. Subscribe to the channel if you want to know more about Source Engine. And as tradition, we wish you Udachi Tamadachi.